All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Become a Database Millionaire, our business builder here at HomeSmart, starting today and going for the next 4 weeks in a row. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give everyone about 30 more seconds to log in and make sure all the attendees, they're all ramping up here real quick. I'm watching the numbers. But Jay, say hello to everyone. I'll introduce you in a minute. Just say hello.
Hello.
All right. You guys are so, you just don't know how lucky you all are today to have Jay on the phone or the webinar with us. I'm just anxious to go over everything we have for you, but we'll be back in about 30 seconds. So
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
I'm happy to be here.
Glad you're here. All right. Good morning, everyone. I think that, let's see here, make sure my sound is all good. My audio is good. Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Todd Sumney. I'm the Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart International. And we are so excited today to kick off our fall business builder called Become a Database Millionaire. And what we're going to do today, we're going to go over 4 weeks in a row. We're going to follow the same process 4 weeks in a row. We're going to talk about building your database and your sphere of influence. Talk about expanding it. How do you increase the numbers or the contacts that are in it? And then how you actually engage those customers or those contacts that are inside your system. And then how do you harvest it, and how do you reap the rewards of all of your hard work? So just for those of you that are, this is your first time, these are the 4 topics, like I said, build, expand, engage, and harvest. And then what we're going to do, how we're going to do that, we are going to interview top producing agents from around the country. And here in week 1, we have Jay Friedman from the Jay Friedman team. I'll introduce Jay here in a minute. Next week, we have 3 top agents from Rhode Island. Week number 3, we have Deanne and from Chicago and the Chicago area. And then week 4, we have Bruno Arapovic. So we have 4 sets of top agents 4 weeks in a row where we're going to learn from them, learn from their stories, what they do, what works for them, how they got started, how they're continuing on, and what are the results that they're getting. So learning from our peers, that's the best way to learn. So for those of you, obviously, if you want to keep in track with what we're doing, we have at homesmart.com/database millionaire. That's where you can get all the information about this. If you haven't done so already, please go there, download the Database Millionaire Marketing Kit, including a quick little contact form that you can begin to use to build a database. Enter your first name, last name. You can be entered to win. See some of the information about our top agent teams. And then right here, just, what is the 5-step process? What are we going to do? So, so excited here. We are going to call these Millionaire Mondays, 4 Mondays in a row, where we're going to interview these top agents. So here are the dates. So if you haven't done so yet, make sure you put all the next 3 weeks on your calendar, the 22nd, 29th, and the 5th at 11 a.m. And make sure you join us back. Don't just participate in this week only, but let's do it all 4 weeks in a row, because reason why we're doing this is results. When we recently did this with texting, and we had a lot of our agents texting around the country, agents were getting great results. They were sharing those results on our Smart Agent Ideas. And one of the agents alone, I think she ended up doing 4 transactions, and she's got 4 more in her pipeline. And that, to me, I mean, that's an extra, I don't know, 25, 30 grand right there and some commission income, just by doing the work and participating. So thank you all for joining us today. Now, before I introduce Jay and we kind of interview Jay and talk about him, I want to kind of set the stage for a database and why we need to have a database and build our sphere. And I'm going to share with you real quick 2 statistics that I want you to know. Every year, the National Association of Realtors, they do a study called the Profile of Home Buyers and Sellers. And they ask consumers, how did you reach your agent? How did you discover your agent? How did you engage or, get to work with your agent? And what they found is that 80% of consumers engage with their realtor because of their realtor's sphere of influence. And if you flip that stat around, it's 80% of a realtor's business last year came from referrals and from that agent's sphere of influence. Roughly 9 to 11% of it is referral business. Roughly 60, 70% of it is the remaining balance is sphere of influence and staying in touch with your database and your contacts. So, if 8 out of 10 deals are coming from referrals and working your sphere of influence, the key to that whole thing is a database and staying in touch with your consumers. Second statistic I want to share. They do a study. They interview consumers every year. Roughly every year, there's about 5 million homeowners that buy or sell a home. And they interview as many of them as they can. And in year one, 92% of those home buyers or sellers that bought or sold a home in year one, they ask them 2 questions. They say, would you use your realtor again? And would you recommend them to a friend? And basically, in year one, 92% of consumers say, yes, I would use my realtor again. Yes, I love them. They were awesome. Yes, I would recommend them to a friend. So then they wait 5 years and they go back and they interview that same pool of people that they interviewed in year one. And they ask them 5 years later, the same 2 questions. Would you use your realtor again? Would you refer them to a friend? And the statistic, normally, if we were in a marketing session, I would ask the class, what do you think the percentage is? And it's remarkably low. It goes all the way down to 13%. So from 92% to 13%, that they love us year one, year 5, they don't. And they ask them, I say, why 5 years ago you loved your agent, today you don't? What's the reason? And the majority of them all say it's because I don't even remember who my realtor was. I've lost contact with my realtor, which is a shame because, again, 80% of our business or more comes from referrals and sphere of influence and staying in touch with our sphere. So those 2 statistics are the reason why we want to combat. We want to combat that. We want to set the stage. And the plan is here, we're going to build our database and our sphere of influence here in the fall. And then after January 1st, we're going to go attack that database that we've built. And we're going to work it, and we're going to really go out and we're going to hunt for listings, and we're going to put on a listing business builder to engage with the listings. But, that's kind of setting the stage today. So, again, build, expand, engage, and harvest. That's what we're going to talk about week 1. And now I want to get to our special guest on the phone, Jay. Thank you, or the webinar. Jay, thank you for being here. I want to tell you a little bit about the caliber of realtor and real estate team that Jay and his team are, and the type of agents that they are. Every year at our national awards ceremony, we honor the top 5 teams nationwide. And every year that I've been involved, I can remember Jay being in there. And last year, Jay and his team, they were number 3 ranked nationally across the country in both transactions and volume. So Jay, everybody, please welcome here on the webinar with me, Jay Friedman, Jay Friedman Realty team from HomeSmart Eye Care Realty in Sacramento. So Jay, say hello to everyone.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a good day today, and thanks so much for listening in.
Love it.
Or watching in, actually. I guess you're watching me, which is kind of freaky. But
a little bit of both. Bit of both. This is great. Well, and the reason is, you don't get to be number 3. The reason why we're starting with Jay and his team, and to talk about how he works his sphere of influence in his database, you don't get to be number 3 in the country nationally without knowing how to build and expand, engage, and harvest a database. So real quick, Jay, that's his broker, ISM, on the left right there. So thanks, ISM, for giving Jay a great home up there in Sacramento. That's Jay, came down to visit us in Scottsdale last year. Here's Jay's updated or one of his most recent photos here. Jay has a great team up there in the Sacramento area. And, they're all good looking too.
Well, what can we do? All we can do is try.
I love it. Well, let's dig right into the heart of it. Before I go, we dig into the 4 points. I want to talk real quick, though, about what you got up on the back wall back behind you. I've been to your office. I know what's up there. But why don't you tell everybody what's in those posters, pictures back there?
So actually, I've got lots of different memories. I got some clients' houses that I've sold. I've got pictures of my family partying, boating, vacation pictures from across the country. Just all good stuff, keep me energized, remember why I'm doing what I do for the long hours that I do. And every time I walk in the office, I see those memories, and it just keeps it all real.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when I was there, some of the photographs of some of your customers, like families and young people moving into a home or their dream home. So
a lot of people forget why we do what we do, and yeah, we all want to make money, but the reality is we're making our clients' dreams come true, and in the process, we make our own personal dreams come true too. So it's really a blessing.
It is. And that comes through every time I talk to you. So Jay, thank you so much for being here today. Let's talk real quick about the 4 topics then, or the 4 areas, of building and maintaining a database, becoming a database millionaire. So I'm kind of just going to interview you, ask you some questions here, and just have you share. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a recap of kind of what you share with us. We're going to send it out this week. From the marketing team, we'll recap that, send it out. We'll post some things up online for everybody to share. But all of you, go ahead and take some good notes because, I just know the caliber of agent that you have here with us today. So real quick, Jay, at one point, you were not a realtor. You were, at some point, you decided to get into the real estate business. How did you get started with contacts, a database, beginning to get your business off the ground? What'd you do to begin?
Okay, well, first things first. Before I was a realtor, I was actually a sales manager for a car magazine. It's a national publication, and I loved that. That was amazing. I was a car guy, and so that was like a dream come true job for me, traveling all over the country, going to car shows, visiting and entertaining clients all over, and getting paid for that. And it was awesome. But as the internet started getting more popular, print advertising started getting on the decline, I knew it was time for a change. And the only thing that I like as much as cars are houses. And so my wife had actually made the suggestion that I look into real estate, and I thought she was nuts. I'm like, seriously? Going from having a nice salary and commissions and bonuses to being straight commission, it was very, very scary. But my wife had worked for a real estate agent down in Southern California for a year when we lived down there. So she had an idea of what I was getting myself into, even though I totally was oblivious. And so with her support and her confidence in me is really where I kind of got the kick to say, okay, let's do this. And just so you know, this was not easy. This was a really big step for us. My wife does not work. She hasn't worked since my daughter was born, since we relocated up to the Sacramento area. She hasn't worked since 2003. That's when we moved back here. And so for me to quit a job and to go out and build a real estate business was definitely very scary. But I knew that I had a wife and a daughter I had to support. And so it was either succeed and faith and do a great job or not. And not is not an answer.
Right. Well, I love it. That's a great background and a great story. And I met your family. You have a great family, by the way. But, at one point you're dealing with contacts, right?
Okay.
And
so first things first. Okay. I'm sorry. I totally got on a tangent.
No. That's good. That's good. But how'd you get started? Like, what'd you do? Right.
So first thing I did is I started begging for open houses. I started talking to agents in the office and said, hey, you got a house I can hold open this weekend? So it was every Saturday, every Sunday, every holiday, Memorial Day, Labor Day, my friends were out having a good time and doing what they're doing, and I was working. I was sitting in a house, and I was hoping that somebody would walk in, and that person would walk in and they would like me. Because the reality is there's thousands and thousands of realtors, but why would they want to use me? So I just got to make myself presentable and be open and friendly and just be me. And if they didn't like me, then I have to work and find somebody else. But the reality is that people walk into open houses looking for a realtor. Now, if they already have a realtor, then, can you convert them over to be your client? That's kind of a gray area. And I could talk about some of the things that I do to possibly do that, but I try not to step on people's toes. The reality is that our clients are our clients forever if we do a good job. But if we don't do a good job, they're going to take off. And the same thing goes for other realtors. If they're not doing a good job and their clients walk into an open house or meet another realtor someplace and they like them better, if they don't feel like they're getting what they want from their realtor, it's really easy for them to switch to somebody else.
Right. So at that point, you didn't really have any listings. You're working open houses, and you decide, but people are walking in the door. You're obviously meeting people. So what was your first database? Was it just your phone? Was it?
No, I didn't even have emails on my phone back then. I actually have a client of mine. Today is his birthday, or yesterday was his birthday. But Matt is like, dude, I can't believe you don't have your emails on your phone. He's like, and I'm like, every day I would go show houses or try to meet clients to go show houses, and I go back to my office and I'd respond to all my emails. And it just got to be the point where I could be home 3 hours earlier if I had been checking my emails throughout the day. And so I got a BlackBerry. Because at that point, I didn't even have a BlackBerry. I didn't have an Apple iPhone or anything. And so I used a BlackBerry for about a year. So at least I could multitask and get some of my emails done throughout the day. So basically, yeah. So
okay. So you started out with kind of your contacts in your email.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to today though. What's your process or your system with contacts? Do you use software?
Yeah. So I'm a huge advocate for Brian Buffini. So back to when I was first starting my business, I was sitting in open houses trying to meet people. And I don't even know that I had a database at that point. I was just taking pieces of paper with contact information and just keeping track of people. And one of the things I'll never forget, Jerry Lip, one of my clients, I met him at an open house in Rockland, and he walked in and he's like, I'm looking for this, and that. And I'm like, okay, well, do you have a realtor you're working with? He's like, no, I'm not committed to anybody. And I'm like, okay. And I went home that night, and instead of watching TV and doing nothing, I looked for this, and that. And I emailed them over to him. So this is on a Saturday evening or a Sunday afternoon. I sent it all over to him, and then I followed up with him on Monday. And I'm like, hey, did you get that email I sent you? He's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe you actually jumped on it. He's like, I've met dozens of realtors over the years, and none of them jump on it. The key is a lot of people forget, like, if you want somebody to work with you, we got to give them a reason to want to. They're not going to just work with you because they met you and they like you and they think you got a great smile. You've got to give them what they're looking for. And sometimes that means we have to work long hours. And that's the thing. Like, when we're realtors, I know a lot of people become a realtor because they can make their own hours. Right. But the reality is that this is a full-time job. It's a full-time business, and it could be a very lucrative one if you treat it like that. If you treat it like a part-time job, then you'll get paid like that. And so you got to be consistently working. Always be working. There's a saying, it's called ABC, always be closing. I kind of prefer the ABW, because as long as you're always working, you will be closing.
I like that too. I like that. And I've also heard ABS, always be serving, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Come at it from that attitude. You're trying to help him. You got back to him with the information he was looking for. Yeah. That always eventually pays dividends, right?
Well, and even this last weekend, I held a new listing open myself, and I don't do a lot of open houses anymore. I have a team now, and they're always looking to do open houses, but everybody already had stuff scheduled, and I have this new listing, so I held it open, and I had a lady come in, and I told her, I'm like, I may not get you this information today, but if not, I'll get it to you on Monday. But instead of waiting until Monday, I sent it to her on Saturday, and she and I have already been emailing back and forth.
Love it.
So hopefully she'll turn into a buyer and we'll make something happen with her.
Love it. Okay. So at some point though, you had to build some sort of a database and build a system. So how many contacts did you start with way back when? Just ballpark.
Okay.
20?
So I grew up here in Roseville. And so growing up in town, I always thought that it'd be pretty easy. But the reality is everybody and their uncle knows a realtor, whether it's their cousin, their best friend, their mom's best friend. I mean, everybody knows a realtor.
Right.
And so the reality of building a database, it wasn't as easy as I thought. Coming from a marketing background, I actually started doing, I had a game plan. I was going to be this biggest, best realtor, and I was going to have advertising all over and billboards on the side of the freeways and park benches and, grocery carts and all this crazy stuff. And then I was introduced to Brian Buffini, which is specifically working by referral. We're not working word of mouth. And so many people get that confused. We're not working waiting for people to talk about us. We're working by referral, which means we're asking for that business. We're asking for that referrals. And so once I went to, I think it was called the Turning Point Retreat back then, I really started understanding exactly the mentality behind the working by referral methods. So Buffini database, it's called the Referral Maker. So I use a referral maker. And Brian says you should have no more than 100 people in your database. And the reason being is you want to go deep, not wide. Well, that's great if you only want to make a couple 100,000 or 300,000 a year, but I want to make a lot more than that. And so I think at this point we have about 350 contacts in there, and they're all rated A, B, and C. And then there's D's. So the people who I really don't want to market to, I don't want to spend money to reach out to, they kind of get put into that D state. I don't delete them per se. I just don't market to them on a regular basis. So that I have about 350 people in there. Now before that, before I had the referral maker, I actually did a spreadsheet. It's kind of fun actually. I did a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of who I was working with.
Love it.
I had it broken down. So it would say, buyer, seller, and their names and their phone numbers. And then when I got them into escrow, then they would get moved into a different spot. And then when they closed, they got into a different spot. Well, to this day, I've deleted all the buyer and the seller and that stuff. But I do keep a spreadsheet, and it's still every year I update it from 2005 all the way till today. Even though I use the other website, the other database to keep track of people, I have that spreadsheet. It's really cool and humbling to look and to see. In first year, I sold 10 houses. The second year, I sold 24. Third year, I sold 17. That was 2007. That was a rough year. And then going into 08, I was struggling. It was a rough year. Real estate market was falling. My dad had just passed away. My dog had just died. My son had just been born. So now my wife is at home with 2 babies instead of 1, and business was like different. It was like changing. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And so my uncle gave me kind of a pep talk to stop worrying and to start working. And I ended up selling 36 transactions that year, and it's just gone up since. So 2008 till today. And last year, it kind of just builds on top of itself. And it is about 90% of the business that's referrals.
I love it. So many top agents that I know do keep have some sort of an Excel file, even though they might use some other system or process or software, because some of those software systems you can import and export, CSV files, and you got Christmas cards and holiday cards and, everything else. So that's awesome. That's okay. So building on from, okay, you built it, you've got something, you've got a database you're working, expanding, and adding to, that database on a regular basis. I know, is there a process that you follow when you meet someone or when you get an inquiry?
Yes. So the first thing I do is I want to talk to them on the phone and talk to them and try and figure out if they're real or not. If they're not real, then I'll be honest, I don't typically put them in my database. Once they become a client, then I'll put them into my database. Now, we've just started expanding with KV Core, which kind of is a conversion database that kind of does some drip mailings and stuff on its own. I need to start adding to that so that even those people who aren't truly real, I can actually still drip on them and possibly turn them into something a little more, compound. So I'm a little old school with that. So I do start with a file. I use 2 different files. So for listing leads, I use blue, and for buyer leads, I use red, and that way I kind of keep track. And when they're just a buyer, then their name is on the data, is on the folder as their name. And once they become an escrow, then I change that over to the address. And when I have a lead for a listing, I'll do the same thing. I'll start with the blue, but I'll start with the address on there. And I'll print out the tax records for the property. If it had been the MLS in the recent 10 years, I'll have that listing printed out. I'll put that in there. And then I'll start doing some notes in there. And that way I kind of have them top of mind and present and in a drawer right here. So I'm constantly thinking about them. So I'm a little old school when it comes to that. I don't just depend on my database. I do use paper.
That's okay. That's great. I've talked to another agent recently that they use paper the same way. It's what works for you.
Yep.
I like
and
that.
Once everything gets, once it becomes a contract, then it gets uploaded into the HomeSmart system by my assistant. And then at the end of everything, she'll end up shredding the paper and download everything onto a disk. So I have disks for every transaction that I've closed since I started in 2005. And I just tell my clients, look, you guys don't need to kill a tree, print all this paperwork. If you ever need anything, just get a hold of me. I'll have it. And it's just another way to serve a purpose and to provide value in the future.
So I imagine you get some phone calls every now and then. Say, hey, remember me? Do you still have that electronic file?
All the time. Yeah. Okay. And I'm always giving out business cards. I'll be honest. I mean, we're always working, right? I'm a realtor. I mean, if I'm not giving my business card out, then I'm not doing my job. And not everybody, I don't ask everybody, hey, you want to buy or sell a house? I'll make sure that they know what I do and that I'm here to help them. And there's sometimes I'll tell people, hey, even if you're just curious about what your house is worth, I know you're not moving right now, but you just want to know, feel free to call me. I have a moving truck that I provide for, friends and family and schools and churches and whoever wants to use it for any reason. I mean, I just got hit up by a local realtor that works for one of the local builders. And he's like, hey, can I use your truck later this month? I need to move. Of course. It's like I make myself known and available to help. And that's how you get referrals. A lot of times those new home agents, they have people that come in that need to sell. Well, who are they going to refer them to?
Right.
Hopefully to me. Right.
All right. So tell me about your truck. How long is it? Is it, and it's obviously you got marketing on the side, right? Contact info.
It's about this big.
Oh, cool. I love it.
No, but in all seriousness, after we ordered the truck, they had this made and sent to me as kind of an example.
Right.
And it's got the logo, my phone number, the website, my picture. And my wife was like, you want your picture on there? I'm like, well, babe, I spent a lot of time at Starbucks and around town. And I want people to recognize me as that guy that has that truck. I'm like, not everybody's going to know me as a name. So,
right.
Yeah, I've got my picture on there. And it's 16-foot box. It's free to rent. I let people know. I've got people all the time that are using it. And my team loves it because they can have their clients use it as well. Right. And it's just that much more recognition. So, and that was actually another one of my wife's brainstorms to come up with that idea. Just another way to provide value. She's pretty smart. Yeah.
That sounds awesome. Well, it's sitting in front of the home when they're moving in for how many hours or days, right? Advertising to all the neighbors, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Love it. Yep. Okay. So real quick, before we move on from expand, let's just say maybe there's a moment where it's like, hey, I need to fill up my pipeline a little more. I need to put a push on. So I want to expand my database.
Yep.
What's one nugget, one golden nugget, or what's one thing that you would do to push to expand your database if you put on a push right now?
Pick up the phone and call people and just make yourself present. Make sure that they remember that you're there. And literally just call and just say hi, see if you can schedule some time for coffee, just face to face. You just need to pick up the phone and call people. And these can be people that fill your love, they really fill your heart, people you really enjoy spending time with, or they could be people that you haven't talked to in 6 months or a year. And you could literally even just send a text and be like, hey, this is Joe Bob Smith with so-and-so Realty, or just not even do that. Just say, hey, this is so-and-so. I was just thinking of you and just want to reach out and say hi. If there's anything I can help you with at all, let me know. And just by making yourself show up, all of a sudden, text messages are great because they always get read. Emails go into the junk. And sometimes they just get, every morning I get up and the first thing I do is I go through and delete. And I'll be honest, a lot of those deletes are coming from lenders and title officers that I really don't care about. But an email, if I got a text message from one of them, I'd respond. If they send me a text, hey, this is so-and-so, just thinking of you, thanks, great to hear from you. Something. All those leads that didn't convert into anything, pick up the phone and call them and just touch base, see how they're doing, see if they bought a house. If they did, how are they enjoying their house? How did the process go? Did they did they think the realtor did a good job? Because a lot of times you're going to find out that they didn't. And if they didn't do a good job, then you can kind of slide in there and take over and be their realtor in the future. Just like you had just talked about, Todd, how there's a lot of people that within the first year will remember who the realtor is. And of course, they'll refer them to somebody. But then what happens? How come 5 years later, they don't even remember who the realtor is? Well, they're not doing their job. And that's how come so many people fail in this business. They aren't doing their job. I mean, part of our job is now and forever. I mean, yeah, we want to sell them a house or help them sell their house, but we don't want them to forget about us.
Right.
We want to make sure that we are still present and available and that people don't forget. And I'm very active on Facebook, and you guys are more than welcome to check out my Facebook page. It's you can check out my business page, which is Jay Makes Real Estate Dreams a Reality. Or you can check out my personal page. It's totally open and it's public. My mom hates it because she's like, man, you're too open and everybody knows what you're up to. And it's like, well, Mom, I'm not very secretive. And honestly, I don't have any enemies out there. I can positively say that. I don't have any enemies. And so I'm not afraid of anything. Yeah, there's some crazy people in the world, but you know what? I can't live my life worrying about it.
Right. Okay, so that leads us right into just what you're talking about is, 5 years later, they still have to know who we are. That happens by engagement and having regular engagement with our clients. Could you repeat one more time what your business Facebook page is again?
Yeah,
everyone.
Jay, so Jay Makes Real Estate Dreams a Reality.
Love it. Awesome. All right, so let's talk a little bit about engagement real quick. So what type of you've already been talking, okay, texting, you talk about picking up the phone, how often do you engage with your customers, your sphere? Can you give any specific examples or types of messages that you send out?
Yeah, some of them are as simple as, seeing their saying, like if they have a special car that they drive that they're into, if I see one driving, that's an excuse to pick up the phone and call them and just touch base. If I have some clients of mine that are in manufacturing, and if I see something that they make, when I'm out and about, then I'll send them a message and just take a picture of it and I'll send it to them. It just makes them know that we're thinking of them, and I want them to think of me whenever they think of somebody that's looking to buy or sell a house. And it's so funny because I'll never forget this, and you guys can take this to heart too. When I first started in real estate, there was another realtor here in town. He's no longer with us. He's passed away, but he was an older gentleman. And he told me, you want to make sure that you have at least 2 title officers working for you. And I was like, really? Why? He's like, well, because they're both going to work hard for your business. And so I did that for a little while. And then I started thinking about this. And I'm like, what am I doing? I want to be the one realtor that my clients call. I don't want to have to be between me and somebody else. So I did. I got really engaged with one title officer who I work with on a regular basis, and I try and use her all the time. And the other one, not so happy. But you know what? She dropped the ball one too many times, and I moved on. Well, with me, I want to be that realtor. I don't want anybody to have between me and between them. And I got a call this morning from a client, and it's always funny when I get a text message, hey, this is so-and-so. It's like, I know, I got their number saved. I never delete phone numbers. You don't ever want to delete contacts. I think iPhones will hold like 100 million contacts. I mean, there's so much storage on those things now. Don't ever delete anybody, because there's nothing more impressive than, hey, Kevin, how you doing? Great to hear from you. Oh my gosh, you still have my phone number in there? Of course I do. Why would I get rid of your phone number? What can I help you with today? And they want to go look at a property this afternoon. And so I've set up a time to go see him. But, I started helping him and his wife about 4 years ago. And at that point, they decided that they were going to stay put. They weren't going to move. And you know what? That's totally cool because that happens. I mean, not everybody that we meet sells and buys a home. But if they do decide to, we want to be the one that they call. And do I call Kevin all the time? No. Do I text him all the time? No. But am I in front of him? Of course. Every month, I send out mailings to my database, to my A, Bs, and Cs. Every month, I send out an e-blast to everybody in my database, including the Ds, because it doesn't cost me any money to email them something. And
okay, so how many numbers-wise? Emails. How many emails?
There's 350 different contacts. Some of them are husband and wife. So that may go up to about 500, 550, something like that when you include the husband and the wife's both.
Okay.
And then my mailings go out to 230 A's and C's. And so they go out every month. And I have my assistant stuff those envelopes. It's not her favorite day to get onto the envelope stuffer and do it. She kicks me out of the office because that thing is loud. But it's all good. And she takes care of that for me. It's just one less thing I need to worry about. And,
so you actually bought an envelope stuffer?
Yep. Well, not stuffer, but trifold. So it trifolds.
Okay.
And then my assistant stuffs the envelopes and labels them. So she prints them out onto the Avery labels. And then I have, the stamp.
Yep.
The address back. So, so she takes care of that for me.
So when you're doing letters, what do you send out?
Actually, because I follow Brian Buffini, I use his slicks. So they have a different thing, item of value that they do every month that I pay for. And, sometimes it's talking about credit repair. Sometimes it's talking about remodeling. What's the best way to get the best bang for your buck? Sometimes it's talking about current market values and fluctuations of what's going on. I don't want to say that it's all real estate. It's not all real estate all the time. Like I know some people spend hours and build like a monthly letter from the heart. And those are great too, because people really like those. I do a Christmas card every year for Christmas and Thanksgiving time. I do a special something for anybody who's either bought, sold, or referred me a client. I don't do closing gifts. I feel like they're cheesy. I don't think they're appreciated. I think everybody expects something. And when they don't get something, then they forget about it, just like that. And then they get surprised at Thanksgiving time when I send them a nice letter that says, thank you, thank you for your business. Thank you for your involvement in my life and being a part of it. And so I do something at Thanksgiving time instead of at the closing. I have some team members that, they have, or they used to, I kind of talked them out of it, do the home warranties at closing. And I'm like, man, that's $400 and something that you're doing. I don't think that the buyers appreciate it. Honestly, I don't think that they do. And I mean, it's just something that they get and then they forget about it. There's been times that I've had transactions where I had to spend thousands of dollars on repairs on the homes to keep things together. But you know what? It's an investment in that transaction and in the future. And you can't be blindsided for the now and not think about the future, because what we do now leads to a positive future.
And that is something that the homeowner appreciates at that point, or the home seller, right?
For sure. And they never forget it.
Right.
They never forget it. And, when the last thing you want to do is have somebody actually be so close to closing and then have the deal fall apart over $1,000 in dry rot because somebody refuses to pay for it.
Right. Right. Okay. I love it. So real quick though, you get that. So you sign up for that monthly service where you get like a box delivered from the Buffini group, right?
Yeah. Haley's going to go grab one.
It's pretty much done for you. And you follow that process then every month with engaging your sphere.
Yeah. It makes it a lot easier. I'm really don't want to reinvent the wheel. They pay thousands of dollars to develop this system to make our lives easier. And so I follow it, and I have followed it since 2005.
Love it. Love it. Well, Okay, so real quick, harvesting, actually reaping the reward. Okay, you have people you're engaging with, right? How do how do you get them off the fence? How do you get them engaged, or how do you harvest it? And I guess I want to start with one question. Where did
So
your last transaction come from? The last transaction you closed, where did it come from?
Kirkwood was the last one.
which one closed?
Kirkwood. That was the last one that closed. It was Kirkwood.
Okay, hold on.
Like, were they past client? Were they an internet lead? Were they
Who
somebody
was
that called
Kirkwood?
off a newsletter? Somebody that,
Hold on one second, Todd. I'm drawing
Yeah.
a blank. Too many transactions. That's a good problem, but
that's a good problem.
yeah,
Savages.
the Savages.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Savages actually were a referral from a friend of a friend. So,
I would have expected that from you. I would have expected that answer from you, that it was a referral.
Yeah, it was a referral from a friend of a friend. And actually, I'd never heard anything real estate related from Richard and Kelly before. I met them at numerous family parties over at our friend's house. When I used to have a quad, I used to go motorcycle riding with them. I got rid of my quads in 2010 or 11. So I haven't spent a lot of time with them other than at like little get-togethers at people's houses. And these other people had met this other realtor so the Savages met a realtor in an open house. And they ended up writing an offer on a different house with those people, and it went all bad, like so bad. And I don't know the details. I didn't really, I didn't want to waste my efforts finding out those details. But what I can tell you is so Richard and Kelly, their son and daughter, or their daughter and son-in-law, like, Mom, Dad, why aren't you calling Jay? We told you to call Jay before you met that realtor. Why haven't you called Jay? And so then they reached out to me and they texted me Mom and Dad's number, and they told Mom and Dad to call Jay. So of course, before I'd heard from them, I had reached out, introduced myself, and offered my services. The next thing I did is when I talked to Lois on the phone, I had told her, first thing I said was like, it was really great to be introduced to you. I really appreciate it. I know what a big deal it is to be moving from Southern California to Sacramento, and it's nothing to be taken lightly. What exactly happened? And so they went into some of the drama and just kind of went over. I listened. I always ask questions.
Right.
I want to make sure I don't do the same mistakes, right? But it's pretty irrelevant, like stuff that I would never do. So I just kind of let it go. The next thing I did is I asked for the mailing address, and then it goes back to the Brian Buffini thing. So just go back just for a second. So these are like kind of the slicks that he sends out. They're nice 4-color slicks, and they come printed already. And then on their website, you can download the cover letter that goes with it. Super simple, super easy. Okay. So then in addition, every month I get 50 of these. These are note cards. These are your best friend. These are money. And as much as we don't want to take the time to do that, they're so heartfelt. And literally you could just send out notes. And I do this every day. I send out 5 notes. I have Haley write the envelopes, but I'm kind of control freak, so I don't let her write the notes. But she goes through my database, pulls 5 people's names, and writes envelopes for me to then put a little note in there and drop in 2 business cards, 2. One for themselves and one to give away. Always give away 2 business cards when you meet somebody new. And you always give away 2. They're very inexpensive. Just give away 2. Just do it.
I love it.
Haley, can you close? And then, so I got Lois's mailing address. The first thing I did is I sent her a personal note. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I look forward to helping you with your relocation up here. Please feel free to call me with no stupid questions in real estate. And I dropped that in the mail. So she got my business card. So then the next time she was coming to town to go look at homes, we went and looked at homes. And we looked at like 10 properties that day. And then the next time she reached out to me and said, hey, Kelly told me about these 2 houses. Will you go take a look at them and FaceTime with me? No problem. So I met Kelly, but I knew if I was going to take the time out of my day to go show Kelly these 2 houses, after I looked at them on the MLS, I knew they weren't going to be liked. I knew what she wanted. They weren't what she wanted, but they would have worked. They would have worked. They were in the right neighborhood. But I didn't want to make sure I wanted to make sure that I didn't overlook something. So I went into the Metro List and I looked and I saw a house and I'm like, this is the house. And it wasn't one of the two she wanted to look at, but it was the house. It had everything she wanted. And actually I mentioned it on my Facebook. It had the pine trees. It had the east facing backyard. It had the covered patio. It had no need for upgrades, no need for improvements. It had the 2.5 car garage. So I took them over to, and it was the house, and we got it. We wrote it up and we got the offer accepted that day.
Love it. And that's the house you took them to first, right?
No. Oh no.
Oh.
Last.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Let them look at the ones that they wanted to look at first. And then I said, okay, now that we've looked at those, I got another one I want to show you. And this is the right house.
Got it.
So we looked at mine first. And ironically, it was actually in the same cul-de-sac as the house that they had put an offer in. It didn't get accepted. And this one made it, it was about 600 square feet smaller, but they didn't need the extra square footage. It's just a husband and a wife. They don't need the extra square footage.
Right.
It's perfect.
That's a great lesson there on harvesting. All right. So last thing real quick, just 30 seconds. When we've talked build, we've talked expand, we've talked engage, right? What do you think of when you think of harvesting? Like
planting seeds. Always got to be planting seeds. So, I mean, whether you meet people at the gym, or you meet people at Starbucks, you meet people through friends, just make sure that they all know what you do. And you don't always have to, like, you know, for instance, yesterday I met somebody, new friends of my son's parents. And first, you know, I started asking them questions, try to get a little bit to know about them so that they want to ask a little bit more about me. And then they did. And then boom. Oh, what do you do? I'm a realtor. I sell homes. Oh, okay, that's great. And then that was the end of it. I didn't want to be like, do you know anybody who wants to buy or sell a house? Because I don't want to be that guy, you know, but I want to make sure that they know what I do. And I want to make sure that they have my contact information. And so, of course, in this case, I got their contact information first because my son was going to be going over there. He's 11. I got their contact information, and then I immediately sent mine. And I told her, this has my office address, it has my home address, it has my personal phone number. I'm like, it's got anything you need on there. Right. Now, obviously, I'm not going to give my personal address to just anybody, but this is a friend of my son's, so I want him to have that. Well, you got to make yourself available.
I love it. Well, Jay, I'm telling you, here it is. I knew this was going to be good, and like 45 minutes is just like blown by with so much good content and info. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being part of the HomeSmart family and sharing with everyone what works for you. I've picked up a whole bunch of different golden nuggets here that we're going to try to recap and share with everyone.
I do have to share two more things.
Yeah, go.
Okay. So online website presence, I don't know. I guess it's important. I have a bitchin' website. You can check it out. It's jsellssacramento.com. But the reality is right now, nowadays, everybody wants testimonials and reviews. Everybody wants to see testimonials and reviews. And there's nothing better than meeting somebody new and then they always ask, how long you been a realtor? And I tell them, I've been a realtor for 14 years. I'm one of the top realtors in the Sacramento Valley. Look me up online, look me up on Yelp, and you can see a bunch of testimonials and reviews. So right there, even though they don't know me and they weren't referred to me by somebody, they can look me up and they can learn anything they want to know about me and my business and how I've served my clients. So if you don't take anything at all away from this, know that you should be doing that. You should make sure you yourself are online, getting testimonials and reviews from your clients. If you're in the Sacramento Valley, don't, because I don't want the competition. No, I'm just kidding. But no, in all honesty, that's very important. And another thing I do to harvest and to build relationships is I do client parties twice a year. And, you know, whether people show up or not, it's kind of irrelevant. What's reality is that they're invited. And just to be invited means the world to people. Everybody's got soccer, they've got baseball, they've got business associates, they got business trips, they got stuff going on. And not everybody's going to show up. So don't take it personal if they don't. Right. Just do it. Just do it. And it may get you out of your comfort zone, but you know what? We have to be working outside of our comfort zone if we want to be successful and you want to be building a good business. So
those are great tips. So I imagine those are two spaced 6 months apart approximately.
Yep.
Like Yep. Okay. Good deal.
Or a
Those are,
year. Depends on the year.
I got it. That's good. Well, Jay, thank you so much. Again, I really, really do appreciate you being with us, especially as busy as I know you are. Really, it was a sacrifice for you to carve out an hour and be here with us on the phone webinar today. I thank you for that. And all right, let's do a quick little recap here. Okay, so we have some options this week. So I'm going to recap and I'm going to give you all some homework if you've joined us so far today here. One option is obviously, whoops, wrong way. One option is do nothing. You know, hey, that was great. This is good ideas. And you just leave and you do nothing different next week. I never like that option. I go, you know, the second option would be, I want you to do something. So one option, second option here is I want you to spend 2 hours a day for the next week just building and organizing a database, making your database better, doing the things that we talked about, you know, build, expand, you know, engage, etc. But just, focus on step one, which was the building. So for the first week, just focus on building it. And then next week, we'll get you expanding. Now, for those of you that you're high achievers, you know, and you just want to do it all. So now spend 2 hours a day building, or 2 hours a week building, 2 hours expanding, 2 hours engaging, 2 hours in harvesting. Do the whole thing. And either one of those routes, you should get some action because you're actually going to. I love, Jay, I learned so much today about always be working. And you said working several times today. Just work. Do some work. Either do nothing or do some work, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you've shown us when you do a little bit of work, the benefits you get. All right. Share your ideas with us or your feedback, your results. Hey, I followed what Jay said. I did this and I got an appointment. I want you guys to post that on our Smart Agent Ideas private Facebook group. If you haven't joined it yet, go to Facebook, put up in the search bar, Smart Agent Ideas, join the group. We'll have to accept you into the group, but HomeSmart agents will get you into that group and we'll share. I just want you sharing ideas back and forth. Last item here real quick. Let's talk about this week's winner. So we did a drawing for this week. And this week, our winner is Anyo Foster, HomeSmart Real Estate Associates in Washington. So up in the Northwest up there, we're going to be sending you a $250 gift card. And thank you for participating. We'll see you next week. So let's all go build our database and our sphere of influence, and let's work it, and let's work on becoming a database millionaire. So Jay Friedman, thank you so much again for being here. Tell Isom and your whole crew up in Sacramento I said hello. And, and just keep doing what you do. I love learning from you.
Thanks.
All right, everyone. Take care. We will see you next Monday, 11 o'clock Pacific time, same time. And we'll see you next week. Database Millionaire. Take care.